Intimacy of touch with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra. Pushya, ruled by Saturn and situated in the nurturing sign of Cancer, transforms the experience of touch into an act of sacred caregiving. For individuals with Moon in Pushya, physical affection is not merely sensual, it is a stabilizing anchor that binds the heart to the rhythms of loyalty, protection, and ancestral memory. The touch of a Pushya Moon individual is slow, deliberate, and intentional. It is the kind of presence that brings food when one is ill, arranges pillows for comfort, and massages the back with unsaid prayers woven through each motion. Touch becomes a devotional act for them, a ritual akin to temple service. They often show affection through domestic acts, tucking in a blanket, holding hands under the table during family dinners, or brushing hair with silent tenderness. These are not flamboyant lovers. They embody the sanctity of constancy. Their touch is a calming balm, capable of grounding an anxious partner or easing emotional storms with a single embrace. To them, touch is not about arousal, but about anchoring the emotional world of another into a container of safety and routine. Their moon being in Saturn's domain makes them cautious with initiating touch. They do not rush into physical intimacy. Instead, they wait, observe, and build trust, like bricks being laid over time to form the foundation of an unshakable home. Even after trust is formed, their need for emotional security lingers. If betrayed, they may retract touch entirely, becoming reserved or emotionally cold, not out of anger, but out of a desire to protect their inner world from further erosion. Those in intimate relationship with Pushya Moon natives must understand that touch with them follows cycles and rituals. They prefer predictability over spontaneity. Routine hugs, nightly cuddles, hand-holding in public that shows commitment rather than desire. Their form of sensuality is bound by duty and tradition. They may express love more during family events or spiritual rituals rather than through erratic passion. However, when truly in love, they reveal a nurturing sensuality that few can match. Their touch gains rhythm and frequency, becoming a source of reliability that can feel like a soul anchor. Sexual intimacy with a Pushya Moon is not wild but profoundly soothing. It feels like coming home. They're drawn to touch that confirms commitment, forehead kisses, chest-to-chest hugs, massages with oils on significant lunar nights, or holding each other through the grief of loss. The challenge lies in emotional reserve. If they feel emotionally unsafe, their physical affection becomes mechanical. They might still cook, clean, or perform acts of service, but the warmth disappears. Hence, for Pushya natives, the real intimacy of touch begins in the emotional body. If their heart isn't met with reliability and respect, they withdraw silently. In sacred partnership, Pushya Moon becomes a sanctuary of touch. Their arms become places of healing, their fingers extensions of loyalty, their physical closeness an oath of emotional guardianship. For those who understand the tempo of Saturn and the tides of Cancer, their touch becomes a timeless harbor, safe, holy, and unshakable. Intimacy of Sensate with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra, sanctuary through ritual senses. For your Pushya Moon, Sensate intimacy is about sanctuary through sacred rhythm. You don't seek stimulation. You seek emotional resonance, wrapped in comforting ancestral routines. Your senses are not pleasure-seeking, they are protection-seeking. You connect most deeply when your environment mirrors stability, when sights are soft, sounds are predictable, and textures feel like home. Pushya, ruled by Brihaspati Jupiter and nestled in Cancer's emotionally tidal waters, gives your sensory world the architecture of ritual. Sensation for you is not about novelty, it's about memory and meaning. You are drawn to the smell of warm spices, the feel of cotton garments just folded, the sight of light flickering through temple bells, or the sound of a familiar voice saying your name without urgency. These aren't just sensory pleasures, they are emotional sanctuaries. You trust spaces that have rhythm, a room that smells the same each morning, a partner whose voice never jars, even in anger, a house where slippers are exactly where you left them. Your moon responds to coherence, not chaos. Loud noises, garish lighting, or erratic touch disorient your nervous system. Even luxury, if not offered with care, can feel cold. Your emotional body has a devotional nature, and your senses are its sacred instruments. You offer sensate intimacy not through display, but through quiet provision, warming tea without being asked, adjusting someone's collar, lighting incense before they arrive. You attune to others not by asking what they need, but by already knowing what their body aches for in silence. Where others may see routine, you see ritual. The same breakfast each Sunday is a form of love. The scent of a soap used every night is memory preserved. You know that emotional presence lives in the texture of time, not in grand gestures, but in the repetition of quiet care. Yet your challenge lies in sensory withdrawal. When you feel emotionally unsafe, you might become numb to sensation, not because you don't care, but because your inner temple is temporarily shut for protection. In those moments, being touched without invitation or overwhelmed with questions can feel like intrusion. You need to return to sensory presence slowly, through spaces and people that feel grounded and non-intrusive. To deepen this intimacy, you might say, I receive love through atmospheres, through scents, sounds, and gestures that feel known. Or, I am most connected when the world around me feels like a soft place to land. And allow yourself moments of newness, slowly. A new fabric, a new song, a new way to be held. Not for novelty's sake, but because your sacred senses deserve to be surprised with reverence, not forced into stimulation. Because when sensation becomes security and your environment becomes a slow, stable mirror of emotional trust, your Pushya Moon finds the intimacy it longs for. A love that arrives not with noise, but with timing. Not with flash, but with warmth. Not with urgency, but with presence. Intimacy of kindness with Moon and Pushya Nakshatra, loyalty as love language. For your Pushya Moon, kindness is not casual, it's foundational. You don't equate intimacy with excitement or intensity. You equate it with reliability, gentleness, and emotional accountability. The Pushya archetype, ruled by Jupiter and anchored in Cancer's nourishing tides, makes you loyal to a fault, but only to those who treat your inner sanctum with quiet respect. Pushya doesn't shout love, it proves it. And for you, kindness is the proof. Kindness is not about sweet words or grand apologies. It's in the small, unwavering behaviors that communicate. You matter, even when no one's watching. It's the partner who closes the cupboard softly so you don't wake. The friend who remembers how you take your tea. The lover who doesn't mock your silences but makes room for them. These are not pleasantries. They are emotional agreements, carved from your deepest values. You thrive in relationships where compassion is habitual, not performative. Where people don't just love you, but care for you in the way they speak, act, and withdraw. Abruptness, sarcasm, or emotional inconsistency wounds you more deeply than others realize, not because you're fragile, but because you feel safest in the language of steadiness. Your kindness is structured. You're not scattered in your care, you're precise. You show up. You remember. You plan meals. You check in on birthdays. You notice when someone is off before they know it themselves. You believe love means being consistent, and you hold yourself to that same standard, sometimes at your own emotional cost. But here lies your challenge. Self-abandonment masked as loyalty. In your effort to be the steady one, you may forget that kindness begins within. You may overfunction, overcare, or overforgive, assuming that your role is to hold everyone's emotional weight, while never asking for help with your own. To deepen this form of intimacy, try saying, I feel most loved when others are consistently gentle with my heart, even when I haven't asked for it. Or, kindness isn't optional for me. It's how I know you're safe. You long for emotional spaces where you don't have to earn gentleness, where it's simply offered like a warm plate at a family table. Kindness, for you, is not a bonus. It's the floorboards of trust. And when you receive it, real, soft, humble kindness, your Pushya Moon shines with the quiet strength of someone who no longer has to guard the door. You return that kindness not just in gestures, but in lifelong devotion. Because to your moon, kindness isn't something you do for the people you love. It's how you love them, and how you ask, softly but insistently, to be loved in return. Intimacy of growth with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra, nurturing without clinging. For your Pushya Moon, growth is not about expansion, it's about cultivation. Ruled by Jupiter, the teacher, and resting in Cancer, the nurturer, your emotional world is drawn to partnerships that grow like gardens, not like fireworks. You are not interested in the fleeting thrill of transformation. You are invested in the slow, steady deepening of roots. Intimacy of growth, for you, means being with someone who respects the sacred pace at which your emotional body unfolds. You're loyal, yes, but your loyalty thrives when it's given the freedom to breathe. You don't rush healing. You don't demand overnight change. Instead, you ask, silently but firmly, can we both become more ourselves here? You flourish in environments where your partner allows you to grow gently, without forcing you to move on, let it go, or get over it. Your growth is not linear. It is seasonal, like the cycles of the moon that governs you. There are phases when you retreat, reflect, and renew. And there are moments when your nurturing overflows. But for this growth to be safe, you need the emotional soil to be soft, consistent, and non-judgmental. You are deeply committed to your loved one's development too, but in a Pushya way, through encouragement, support, and caretaking. You remind them of their potential, not through pressure, but through presence. You offer the kind of love that says, you don't have to be fully healed for me to hold space for you. But here lies the tension. Your instinct to nurture can sometimes confuse enabling with supporting. You may stay too long in dynamics where only one person is growing, hoping your patience will plant the seed. Or you may suppress your own expansion for the sake of harmony, afraid that your personal evolution will feel like abandonment. Your lesson in intimacy of growth is this: you deserve to grow without guilt, and your partner deserves the same. To deepen this intimacy, you might say, I grow best when I'm not rushed, and I offer the same grace to you. Or, I stay in relationships where we both evolve, even if that means evolving apart for a while. Because your Pushya Moon knows that love, at its best, is not control, it is continuity. It is two people cultivating their inner lives while choosing to stay near each other's soil. You don't fear change, you fear emotional disconnection masquerading as freedom. What you crave is a shared path where each partner's inner blossoming is witnessed, respected, and never shamed. When you find that, your love becomes a legacy, not loud, not rushed, but sacred. Because for you, intimacy is not about who changes fastest. It's about who's willing to stay present while you both become. Intimacy of activity with Moon and Pushya Nakshatra. Togetherness in rhythm, not in control. For your Pushya Moon, intimacy through activity is not about doing everything together. It's about doing life side by side with emotional harmony. You don't need constant involvement. You need respectful presence. Ruled by Jupiter, the wise guide, and placed in Cancer, the caretaker, your moon finds emotional connection in shared routines, quiet cooperation, and the gentle art of participation without intrusion. You thrive when your relationships are built on mutual honoring, where each person's preferences, interests, and timings are taken seriously. For you, activity is not about performance, spontaneity, or adrenaline. It's about being involved in ways that feel anchored, ritualized, and emotionally safe. This could be something as simple as folding laundry while your partner hums nearby, cooking a meal while sharing stories of your day, or gardening in silence together. These acts might seem mundane to others, but for you, they're where loyalty, care, and rhythm breathe. Yet you also need emotional autonomy. When others try to force you into plans you're not aligned with, especially ones that feel emotionally or physically disruptive, you can retreat or become quietly resentful. You don't resist activity. You resist expectation without empathy. You need the freedom to say no without consequence, the space to pause without judgment, and the dignity to choose how you show up. You're most connected to those who intuitively understand this balance. I want you near, but I don't need to control your time. I'll include you, but I won't demand you. What you offer in return is deep emotional availability during the activities you choose to share. When you're in, you're all in. Whether it's accompanying a loved one to a family gathering, building a shared home, or simply sitting together in the same room, your presence is complete, committed, and calming. However, your challenge is in overextending yourself in the name of duty. You may say yes too often, thinking that sacrifice equals love. Or you may quietly absorb resentment if your need for quiet or solo time is misunderstood. Learning to assert your boundaries, gently but clearly, is a form of self-intimacy you're still mastering. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I love sharing life through consistent, heart-based routines, not rushed plans or forced togetherness. Or, I feel closest to those who honor both my presence and my pauses. Because your Pushya Moon isn't asking to be entertained, it's asking to be respected in rhythm. You value companionship over coordination and commitment over control. And when you find a partner who allows you to move at your sacred pace, sometimes involved, sometimes inward, you offer a love that becomes a lifelong anchor. Steady, warm, reliable. Not because you did everything together, but because you did what mattered, with care and without compulsion. Intimacy of allowance with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra, holding space without holding tight. For your Pushya Moon, the intimacy of allowance is a sacred practice of emotional permission. You love with structure, with devotion, with consistency, but not with force. Ruled by Jupiter, wisdom, and seated in Cancer, nurture, your emotional body understands that true connection allows breathing room, not confinement. You don't need your loved ones to be perfect. You need them to be present and real. You know that people move through seasons, that moods change like lunar tides, and that the heart isn't always bright and available. And so, your most profound form of love says, be what you are today. I'll adjust the rhythm, not the reverence. Pushya's power lies in emotional containment, not control. You are the one who makes room for complexity. A withdrawn partner, a grieving friend, a child who doesn't know how to express what they need. You don't rush people out of their process. You sit beside them with quiet loyalty, offering your presence as a soft container rather than a demand for change. Still, this isn't easy for you. While you give others freedom, you often don't grant yourself the same. Your emotional responsibilities run deep. Sometimes so deep you begin to overfunction, over-caretake, or self-regulate for the sake of keeping harmony. You may internalize your own needs out of fear that they're too much, or avoid expressing discontent to keep others comfortable. But the deeper intimacy for your Pushya Moon begins when you give yourself the same allowance you give others. To not have the answers, to need space, to be inconsistent, emotional, cyclical, without guilt. You don't thrive in emotionally tight spaces, ones that demand you to be upbeat, clear, or composed at all times. You bloom in emotionally secure spaces that say, you can unravel and I won't flinch. You offer this gift to others with grace. You deserve it in return. To deepen this intimacy, you might say, I feel safest when I'm allowed to be in process, not fixed or judged. Or, I offer love by letting people be who they are without needing them to perform emotional perfection. Your allowance is not passivity, it's emotional wisdom. You know that love, like the moon, has phases, that the most sacred thing we can offer another is not correction, but compassionate witnessing. And when that same witnessing is returned to you, when someone meets you in your softness without tightening their grip, your Pushya Moon settles into its deepest expression. The kind of love that protects, but never confines. That stays, but never suffocates. That allows, and in doing so, allows everything to grow. Intimacy of giving with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra. Devotion as daily offering. For your Pushya Moon, giving is not a gesture. It's a way of being. Rooted in Cancer's emotional tides and shaped by Jupiter's wisdom, your love language flows through small, steady, often unnoticed acts of care. You don't give for recognition. You give because it's your nature to nurture, to support, to uphold the emotional world of those you love with a kind of silent, sacred reverence. To you, giving is safety. You give warm food before anyone asks. You anticipate unspoken needs. You wake early so others can rest. You fold clothes with prayerful hands. You create environments where others care without explanation. Your gifts are not always tangible. They are energetic structures that say, you are held even when you fall apart. You don't need applause. You need impact. To know your giving mattered, that it soothed something, that it stabilized someone's storm. This is the devotional architecture of Pushya. Giving is how you express love, protection, and belonging. But here's the hidden truth. You sometimes give from depletion. Because your moon is wired to nourish others, you may override your own needs, thinking your emotional worth is tied to how much you offer. You might stay in roles where your giving becomes expected rather than appreciated. You might forget that your offerings are sacred, only when they come from fullness, not obligation. The Pushya Moon must learn this mantra. I am not love because I give. I give because I am love. And this love must include you. Healthy giving for you means boundaries with softness. It means asking yourself, is this a gift or a survival pattern? Is this coming from joy or from fear of not being needed? Do I trust that I'm lovable even when I'm not useful? To deepen this form of intimacy, say, my giving is sacred. I offer it freely, not to earn love, but to express it. Or, I feel most nourished when giving is mutual, when care moves in both directions like breath. When your Pushya Moon gives from wholeness, your love becomes a sanctuary. Your presence becomes a hearth. You don't just give time or resources, you give emotional stability, ritual grounding, and the deep ancient message. You don't have to be okay for me to show up. And when others give back, not with grandeur, but with genuine care, you finally let yourself receive what you've always offered. A love that nourishes without keeping score, a devotion that heals simply by showing up. Intimacy of receiving with Moon in Pushya Nakshatra, letting nurture flow both ways. For your Pushya Moon, receiving is both your soul's longing and your greatest threshold. You are exquisitely skilled in the art of giving, steady, devoted, anticipating needs before they're spoken. But when it comes to letting others care for you in return, your natural instinct is often to deflect, delay, or diminish. Not because you don't want love, but because somewhere deep within, you've tied your worth to being the one who holds, not the one who is held. Yet the Pushya archetype, in its fullness, is not just the caretaker, it is also the sacred vessel. And to be a vessel is to receive with grace, not guilt. Receiving, for you, is about emotional trust. You don't respond to grand gestures or empty praise. You open in the presence of consistent care, soft eyes, warm silence, food made with thought, words spoken with timing. You receive best not in bright moments of performance, but in gentle invitations. Let me take this off your plate. You don't have to explain. Rest. I've got you. These gestures feel rare to your emotional body because you are often surrounded by people who expect you to be the emotional rock. And so when genuine care comes your way, your first reflex may be to resist it. I'm fine. Don't worry. You've done enough. But beneath that is a heart starving to be seen without needing to serve. The truth is, receiving feels vulnerable because it asks you to trust in someone else's emotional follow-through, to believe they won't drop what you dared to open. It also challenges the part of you that has built identity around being dependable, strong, selfless. But your Pushya Moon's deeper wisdom knows, even the caretaker deserves to be cared for. Even the one who cooks the meal deserves to be fed. Receiving is not taking. It is allowing love to reach you. To deepen this intimacy, say, I'm learning to let love land on me, not just move through me. Or, when someone shows up for me without me asking, my whole nervous system softens. You are not weak for needing. You are not selfish for receiving. You are a soul who has mastered containment, and now you are being invited into communion. And when you let yourself receive fully, without apology or shrinking, your Pushya Moon experiences a kind of healing that even giving couldn't deliver. The knowing that love doesn't have to be earned, that devotion can flow both ways, and that your presence is worthy, not because you serve, but simply because you are.